pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, bear with me. It's my first time sitting in the big chair. Call to order, please. Roll call.
Mayor Nathan Anderson. Troy Boone.
Here.
Will Wolke.
Here.
Art Schott.
Here.
Eli Seeley.
Here.
And Mike Kuhn.
Here. Is there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, motion to adopt the agenda. Second. There's been a motion to adopt the agenda in a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approve the minutes from Monday, September 18. Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes from September 18?
Make a motion to adopt the minutes from September 18th.
Second. I have a motion and a second to adopt the minutes from the council meeting on September 18th. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Adopted. All right, public hearing. Request to vacate a portion of East Ranch Street line east of the North 3rd Street right of way in Beresford, Lincoln County, South Dakota.
I'll just kind of give a quick background on that. Sharon Rushwood represents the Our Life Trust, and she came in and we talked a little bit about what can be done as far as the street, the right of way that goes between two properties that they own. I included with the council just a kind of map showing where it was at, Sharon, so that they kind of knew the area. Obviously, on one side to the north, there's the Lifkin house is there, and on the south side of the right of way is a property that the Lifkins Trust is in charge of also. She has asked that we vacate that right of way between the two properties so that it would be one continuous property. So, and the notice of hearing has been published in the paper, and I did include a copy of that and the petition to vacate the right of way. So, for your viewing, Sharon, do you want to say anything about it?
Just that, we've had that in the family since they had lived there in the 1940s, and we've been taking care of that area. And to split it when we've got a garage on one side and then a house and everything else on the other side, we just don't want that to happen. And like Jerry said, we want to keep it as one continuous property.
Is tonight like the first reading of this, or do we decide tonight?
It's a public hearing. You could decide tonight, you can defer if you aren't ready to make a decision. But the statute requires a public hearing on any request for the vacation of the right of way. In the previous consideration for this, to vacate the property, there was some discussion in other groups.
Yeah, well, our development corporation did review this, and as did the Housing Redevelopment Commission, and they would both be opposed to doing that. Obviously, the HRC is looking at doing the development for future housing, and they don't want to give up any potential right-of-way or access to that. And the Development Corporation worked with the HRC to negotiate a deal on some land in that area, so they would both be opposed to that.
Because that would potentially become
It could be as we move forward with plans. And, we have not done any of the final plans or anything like that. There's been some money that's been applied for. They do not know if any grants are going to be awarded for that project or not.
So if you wanted to make that a street and you're going to put it through that development, what are you going to continue it on to when the net land on the other side of the box is Dolan's? You're going to make that street all the way through to 77?
Well, right now, Sharon, their concern's just about block housing development. I mean, it could be down the road, they'd probably have just like this, they have a right of way that could go into the Dolan property eventually, so that.
You have a right of way there too?
You could, you know, they've got to plat that yet, but there's nothing been
I
platted.
don't know
yet.
you could do that, come in, I mean.
Well, they'll plat it and then for future development.
There isn't any other option. They just couldn't, look for any other option. These engineers that develop and do these things all the time, there's nothing else that they could look at except to do that Grant Street, huh?
I don't think that's what he was saying. I think they want to keep that option available. And that's typically when property is platted. I don't know when this plat was done, but when it's platted, those rights of way are typically a requirement of the subdivision, so that if there needs to be access or expansion down the road, that those rights of way are reserved for that.
Could we zigzag the street? I mean, can we go on to, let's see, that would be north, could we go to the north side of their property?
Even the south.
North
The north side is up by the base, or are you talking about?
Going towards the base.
Yeah.
That would be a big road there. Going
Yeah.
to the
We
substation.
probably wouldn't know until they plat it out and figure out where the lots are gonna be and the streets are gonna be, right? So I mean, there's no way to know where to put the right of way at this point. To whether we would be better to move it or leave it where it's at until that's
You
all.
know, we look at the right of way that's already there. We aren't trying to plan ahead, we're wondering if or when that could happen.
Right.
I mean, if the Lifeton Trust would be willing to change it, I mean, we'd sure look at that option, but, you know, we have to look at where the water and sewer lines are gonna be and all that kind of stuff too, so.
Then I talked to you a while back and you looked at, what is it, Garfield? Is that the next street to the south?
Garfield, Lincoln. Lincoln's got the loop at the end.
There you
There
go.
we go, yeah, I got it here, yeah. So what if we took that straight through? Would that be an option?
I think anything's an
They're both an
option.
option at this time, yeah. Like I said, we take a look at what we have for existing public right of way first, because those are land that's already been dedicated for that development. So in order for you to give up that, that's what Sharon's here to asking, is that she doesn't want that to go through. So then we would be forced to either move it down further to property that we already have control over, or they'd have to rededicate some additional right of way. That'd have to be replatted and some of that kind of stuff. So that's why we try to make it the easiest as possible for planning purposes, because that's why it was originally put in there. It wasn't put in there just because they wanted to separate the properties, and maybe Art didn't own both at the same time, we don't know.
Where does the sewer go through there now? Do you know?
There is none.
There is, yeah, there's none there, but I mean, where would it potentially come off or go best, you know?
Well, it would continue down on Third, and that would be one of those where we branch out on.
Okay.
The way it would work at first is that they'd probably come in from the south end of or the north end of the development by the new ball fields.
Mm-hmm.
And work their way up, because that's where we have a new sewer main that we put in. But then it'll start branching out as we move further to the south. So there may not even be a sewer that would go through there. It may be just a hard surface road with curb and gutter.
And it
It
may
just depends on where we need the sewer at.
And it may potentially work out
I
where.
mean, it could be that if that goes through, then a sewer line can be put in there and it could serve both Lifeton houses too, both sides. So you'd have two lots that you could actually have water or sewer going into.
Personally, I see why you want to do it. But as me sitting here on the city council, there's no way I could be in favor of that right now, because that would take away a possibility that we might need down the road. Because we don't know what we're going to do with this and how it's all going to plat out and where we're going to get our infrastructure from. I mean, I understand your concern, but being a member of the city council, there's no way I would be able to support that right now. Just because of that land and other development that we have that's going to go on out there.
That's gonna be 10 to 15 years away.
Could be.
So if we don't.
I mean, some of it's gonna be in the next year or two, couple years. But,
When did you say that? At that meeting?
well, I'm
First
just,
one?
I'm assuming.
Yeah, we
I'm
were,
assuming.
We have not heard on the grants yet. They've got 75 requests. They've only looked at 7 of them out of the 75. And when I say they, the South Dakota Housing Development Authority is the one that would be doing that. If the grant doesn't come through, there's probably a good chance it's not gonna happen.
And I'm assuming that if everything falls into line, that there would be probably some movement in a couple of years. But it could be 10 to 15 years. But like I said, personally, I understand why you do it. But as a member of the city council, I wouldn't do that to the city right now.
If we don't elect to vacate tonight, before there would be a formal decision on the final plans for any development out there, would there be another point at which we can reconsider?
Yeah, absolutely.
We just leave it to you.
Maybe we've got more solid information.
Go through the process
I
again.
think we're all kind of spitballing right now, and I'm just thinking,
Well, I mean, I think you'd have to go through the process again.
Yeah, okay.
it was, I mean, obviously Sharon, looks like you had to develop some documents, you had to probably do a little bit of, probably the same process by which you became a trustee for the trust.
Mhm.
And you've had to do this all in the past year or so. But the development of those documents, at least they're.
We put them together.
Okay, okay.
So
We need a motion. to
I'm just
vacate.
thinking, you know, if we don't vacate tonight, but then once we have more solid
Can't do a
plans,
motion
what
to
do we
vacate.
do?
do whatever you
No,
want.
I mean.
Yeah, if other things fall into place with
Start the process.
kind of
Oh,
Vote to
additional.
take.
But if you don't have solid plans about that development, why can't
We
you
lose
vacate
that
that
property.
The
and
city
then
will
make your
then-
plans around that?
Right.
That's what you're saying, you're telling me you're not solid on what you're doing with the Bach area over there. So there's a lot of things that you could do if you vacate that street. Because that's there, the ground is there, everything's there. And so if you're not solid with what you're doing on that development, why can't you think of different options then?
I think this would reduce some of those options. And I think right now we want to keep all options on the table. And, you know,
We wouldn't be able to vacate it tonight anyhow. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I know.
I think keep all options on the table, look for what's best in the interest of the city, and then try to make sure that you keep your interest at forefront.
Mhm. So is that it?
I mean, I don't know if the council wants to take any action or.
Fair motion at this point.
I think we need to see some definite plans.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, you'd have to, I think you make a motion to deny the request. Doesn't mean they can't come back and renew the request at a later date when you know further what you're doing out on that other property.
Just because we deny it tonight wouldn't mean they can't.
Correct.
So you'd have that potential again, once we know what's gonna become of that land back there.
And until you know that, then we would just continue to maintain it like it has been since it was turned into a street. Gravel, bushes, no water.
The first little bit by the house there.
What?
The first little bit by the house there.
Yep, we push it in the front past that next shed.
That's only been done in the last few years. We always cleaned it out after, before that. So do you have to officially vote, or am I done?
Should.
Yeah, we should vote,
Someone's got to make a
because
motion
that would give
to
you,
do that.
yeah.
How do you want it worded?
I don't know what you want to do, so
No, we don't have any.
Bring it back at a later date.
then you vote to deny
He
the, motion to
recommends-
deny the petition tonight.
Deny the petition, and that gives them the option in the future. if we
That
leave
doesn't
it open.
preclude them from coming back, or
Do we have any formal time schedule with development?
they're waiting to see what the grant opportunities are. And that's been sitting out in Pier for 2.5 years in bureaucracy, so. The money's there.
No real set timeline.
Jerry said they've looked at 7 out of 75 applications. So,
They only meet every month, South Dakota Housing, so at that rate, we might not know until next year sometime. or till they might run out of money first too, who knows?
I have no idea, I don't know where our application is on the.
It's like number 40 on the list, but that doesn't mean that that's the, but when I looked at the list from 1 through the first 7, none of them got the award anyhow, so it's, they're not following the list that they got.
Oh. So we need either a motion to table or deny or vacate. Or no action.
It'll come back to you if there's no action, I think.
Yeah,
Because you represent the petitions.
right. So it'll just show up on the next agenda.
Who makes a motion to deny the request to vacate the portion of the East Grant Street line east of North Third Street right away in Beresford, Lincoln County, South Dakota? Second.
I have a motion to deny the right of way and a second. Is there any discussion?
Now, you guys understand you can come back.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Visitors to be heard? None? Any reports? None? Department head and city administrator reports. Do we have any department head or city reports? Good. Old business, vacant Ward 3 council position. The mayor is not here to present any new news, so that gets kicked down the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll probably be on the agenda until we do fill it, so.
Okay. Storage building for new ball fields at Grace V. Nelson Park.
We had a discussion at the last meeting a little bit. We got some quotes to put up a 40 by 80 building, and one of the quotes was from Cleary, and so I did talk to them people about the span between them being, I think it said 10 foot, so we thought that was probably a little bit too much or too far apart in order to have a decent roof. So I did talk to them, and that was more designed as a residential type storage facility, not more of a commercial. He said if we want the commercial type, it's going to be more expensive. It'll come with a complete set of engineered plans for the roof and everything. He said and that would bring obviously everything closer together. So with that being said, I didn't go much further because I think it would be over the $100,000 that we had would require a bid. So we didn't go any further with that. The other bids would both put us over 100,000, so we'd have to go out for dry up some plans and specs if we're going to go that large. So I know I brought in my parks guys, and Kelly came in. We talked a little bit about his needs and things. He'd be okay with a 24 by 30 building, let's say. At least that would give us a place for the storage of all the equipment that they have and some of our equipment, things like that. Give us a place where we can hook all of our irrigation and everything in, and then maybe next year or whenever it's going to be over 100,000, sit down and actually go through what the needs are for that building. It depends on what it's going to be used for. If you want to go any bigger, I mean, if we're going to do, if we want it to be more of a facility for people to use in the winter months for training, whatever it might be. Obviously then we need to start thinking about bathrooms, we need to start thinking about heat, and then we need to start thinking about insulation, walls and all that kind of stuff, which the building that we had designed had none of that in it. So we're looking at quite a bit more, and then you got to decide where you want to put that. If it's something you want to put directly out there, or maybe if there's a better location for that, that'll be better maintained in the winter time, because we don't plan on going out in January, February, March and pushing snow back to a facility out there if we don't have to. And there's no gas out there right now, so we'd have to run a gas line into that area too. So we're looking at quite a bit more than 100,000. if we're gonna do something that way, so. But what we would like to do, I guess, is if we can go forward with trying to get at least the building put up where we originally had talked about, that would be at least a facility that can take care of everything we need, and then down the road, design something that would meet the needs for whatever future we're gonna have down there. And it could be something quite larger than a 40 by 80 building, too, or 40 by 80 building, but for us, and I did talk to somebody today, a builder, and I just had, give me a rounded number, what would it be per square foot for a stick-built, floating slab, concrete foundation, 2x6s, 16-inch on center, 412 pitch roof, no installation, one garage door or two, one walk-in door or two, so about $45 a square foot. And that includes everything. So you're talking if a 24 by 24, about 27,000, 26,000. 24 by 30 looks like about 32,400 or so, something like that. So that's kind of where you're at on an estimate. If we were going to go forward with that, I would probably get a hold of at least three guys, three people to see if they can give us a quote for something that we would want out there, and move forward. Now the guy I talked to today, he said he could actually get a building up this year. So, but
What did, excuse me, what did Kelly say for?
$45 a square foot.
No, for the size.
It'd be a 2x6 or 2x4.
24 by 30.
Yeah, 24 by 30. When I was talking to Kelly, he said if we go a little bit 6 feet wider, he said he'd like that. That might give them just a little bit more room for all their equipment and for the baseball teams to store whatever equipment they might need in there.
Shall I make a motion for storage building new baseball fields at Grace versus Nelson Park for 24 approximately times 30, approximately $45 where what approximately based on at a future date there'd be more.
I don't think he's got, I think it'd just be giving him direction to go.
Give him direction.
Get quotes if you want to do that size of a building, because he doesn't have any firm quotes, he's just getting
Okay, then.
ballparks.
Okay, give Jerry Simon.
Well, yeah, I can get 3 quotes for us.
To get quotes.
Yeah, this is just going to be someone that was on the phone.
So you're thinking we put up this 24 by 30 and in the future put up a bigger one?
That's what I would say. And then put it where you want it and make sure we have gas and all that kind of stuff and design it, because you're not going to be able to get that put up this year. We're going to have to go just like we did on the other one. We're going to have to get a set of plans and specs put together and go out for bids.
But then we're sitting with 2 buildings out there.
And we probably could use it all.
But you gotta realize you're gonna have 24 foot of that building is gonna be, you're not gonna be able to utilize that for anything other than our storage area. So you're taking it down to 60, what does that put you at, 56 feet or less? We go
I
30,
really
you're only
think
at
that's
50 feet.
a better plan if we've got a place to put that building, so that we, kind of the same thing, we were just talking about vacating the road. We don't know, we don't have a plan yet where we put 2 buildings. If, I don't know, there might be somebody in the room that could figure out where we could put 2 buildings out there. And
maybe, if this is a training facility, maybe we could talk to Sanford or someone like that that'd be willing to step in and contribute a significant amount towards the.
Because you're gonna want to build completely different.
Yeah, what we were talking about strictly a storage building. To finish that off would have been a nightmare. You'd have to basically reframe everything on the inside.
Well, I don't think the plan was to finish it off. It was just, if you want to be out there in the wintertime, you're gonna have to heat it yourself, start a propane heater in there or something. I don't know. And I don't think you need bathrooms. People would just have to deal with that. You're not gonna be out there for several hours at a time.
I mean, we have indoor training space now. We've got the net complex, existing multi-purpose room. Certain times of the year we can get in there. There are times when we become lower on the totem pole. But now that we have a relationship with softball, has dropped to their document where we have an agreement. They're paying for a certain portion of the field to have priority. Maybe we reciprocate somehow where they can give us, the school system can give us dedicated access to multi-purpose room, which is heated, has bathrooms, cage.
The problem is during that time is basketball. There's not enough room for basketball teams to practice.
I guess I'm kind of I guess if you're gonna build one big enough to put a batting cage in, and if you're going to build it big enough where you can do some practicing in it, I would just soon do it right than just put a shell. I mean, I completely understand that we need a shed to put equipment and stuff in for mowers and fertilizer stuff and all that stuff. We're gonna need that. But if we're gonna change it from that to something that they can practice in, you know, we're gonna have to make it bigger than a batting cage anyway, because you're still gonna have all that stuff to put somewhere. You know, so in reality, it's gonna have to be 120 feet instead of 80 feet. And you're looking at a really big building, and you're gonna have to do it right. I kinda, what I hadn't thought about until Jerry said it tonight, making a shed, I call it, making a storage building, put things in, and then doing it right down the road and making a practice facility. I mean, we are putting out a really nice baseball facility. I would hope that somebody would understand.
Dollars left too, you know, we're not, once we get this project done, we borrow, I think, $3 million as our construction fund. You know, once we get everything else done, we might have some dollars left over to put into a different building. And there's plenty of room right there by the, if you wanted it at that location, there's quite a bit of room right next to the substation out there. Just have to be leveled out a little bit, but it's pretty level right now, so you could have a lot of access right there. We still, if you wanted to heat it, we still have to run some gas into it, but you know, with the dock housing project, we're probably gonna be running gas anyhow. We just don't know when.
So this 24 by 30, you said was 2 by 6 walls?
I think it was honestly, it was either 2 by 4 or 6. I didn't talk specific about the walls.
And with the rafters were?
It'll be 4 12-pitch rafters, and it'll be steel. It'll all be 4 by 8 particle board for everything, and then they cover it with steel.
And how far apart were the rafters?
2 foot.
2 foot, okay. 2 foot on center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we don't need a bid for that, we can just
We
get it.
can do that, it's under the $100,000 limit, so if we can get a couple of quotes here for the next meeting, then we can go and authorize one of the guys to go forward. And like I said, the guy I talked to today said he would be able to fit it into the schedule yet this year. Now, if the other ones would or not.
You said 24 by 30, but then you said something about you wouldn't mind 6 extra feet.
Well, no, we originally talked 24 by 24.
Okay.
So then when I talked to Kelly, I'm sorry, he thought that extra 6 feet would be nice if we go 24 by 30. That's not a big difference in the overall cost.
What's the
We
size
thought
of
that extra.
What's the size of the white building behind the Tina Field? Do we know off the top of our head?
Which one?
The one behind, in between the golf course and the Lawrence
Oh.
Field?
Well, I don't know, you know, how big is the maintenance shed behind the baseball field over there, Jeff? Do you have any idea?
The one that he's in now.
Yeah,
Little one?
yeah, behind the baseball field.
20 by 40 maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit bigger than that one.
Bigger than what?
It's bigger than 24 by 40.
I'm just thinking if there's equipment that's gotta be stored, because there will be some requirements for baseball equipment there. Same way there is with 2 existing north-white fields. We'll need something else to store additional.
Why don't we just
So
do
you're
24 by 40?
You think it's not big enough?
No, I don't know.
I'd hate to build it too small.
Well, that was the argument the first time. You're always gonna wish it was bigger.
But, I mean, if we're gonna make it a practice, someplace where they can practice, I think that needs to be done completely different than a place where we're storing mowers.
Yeah, I think you break it down into 3 different functions that you're looking for. So equipment storage for field maintenance, baseball equipment storage and baseball and or softball practice. I think we take baseball and softball practice off the table. We look at a future fully functional building with a couple lanes, you know, additional astroturf where you can do infield, outfield, pitching machines, etc. But I think you take that out of the 3 things. I think you take that off the table. But some baseball equipment storage, and then Kelly's gear.
I just got a little question, but if you do take Troy's advice and go 24 by 40, that's still under 100. So, you know, I kind of agree with Troy a little bit. if it's a couple more feet, I mean, I'd rather do a couple more feet for that storage stuff, but like you said, you gotta move the stuff from there to here or whatever, it's gonna take up that space pretty quick.
What did you say 24 by 30 was approximately ballpark?
32,000.
So 40,000
Yeah,
probably.
just 45,
You said $45 a square foot, right?
yeah.
So one that he's in now, down in ball fields, is roughly 24 wide.
I don't know, that's what we're asking if anyone knows.
When he's got his machines parked in there, he's got just a narrow alley. Has anybody been in there and seen that?
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
it's packed.
yeah,
There's stuff on top of stuff.
And how big do you think it's 24 by 40?
it's probably a little longer than 40, but 24 is probably pretty close.
We're only gonna be storing a few pieces of equipment up here.
Yeah.
24 by 40 is about 36, just under 40,000.
That's what I would say.
At least 40. 24 by 30.
That would give us ample space to store equipment and also store baseball software.
I mean, if we even pushed it up to what they could give us for 50,000.
That's the thing, I'd ask. Partition belongs to the, we each have their own sign as we were hoping, so we can keep our stuff separate from, because you're gonna have kids in there picking stuff up out of there.
Yeah, and right now, it doesn't work perfect with the existing building because that toll road, the maintenance equipment's on one side and everybody just now.
Now, that's way too small over there.
That's been.
We may not need all of that space either. I mean, we're not gonna store a lot of stuff in there. We don't want to need a lot of the stuff we'll be bringing from the other fields. So really what's gonna be left in there is probably just for the people that are gonna be dragging the fields and that kind of stuff.
See what you can get for 50, under 50,000.
Yeah, okay. So I'll get a couple, actually they'll get 3 quotes there, I think.
I like the heavier duty Raptors
Yeah.
space when you were talking to the
Yeah.
It's a lot better than what that.
It's just a stick-built building is all it is. It's just a garage, it's a little
So we own.
10-foot sidewalls.
440?
2440 or what you can get for it.
Yeah, and maybe 26 works better for some reason,
Yeah.
26 by 36 or something. Just depends on.
I'm doing 40.
Or standard 50K, yeah, 24 by 40 with standard 50K.
See, and that width kind of keeps us out of the, they've already got it already, for the drainage to kind of come around the batting cage and all that. It's already kind of set up for that. We've kind of built up for 24-foot garage out there. If we were to try to go 40, we'd probably go right into the drainage channel by the time we move this back from the parking lot a little bit. So.
And one garage door is enough.
Yeah, I think so. And I talked to Kelly, yeah, he said just one is all he thought, but I would rather see us have a couple, one on each side. So I think if you just get 2 smaller ones, well, rather than one big one, at least then each side is totally separated from the other.
Okay.
If something goes missing out of
Maybe
one side, then it can't run.
I would say a couple walk-in doors too, so that way if we decided we want to hard partition it off at some point, we can do that.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, because you're talking about separating the park stuff from the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then having that.
And if each other teams, if there's not room, each of them could put little storage closets of their own in there if they wanted to store their own stuff and lock it up so no one else can get into it.
Okay.
So the coaches don't have to haul their stuff back and forth every time games and practice.
We will appreciate it.
Coach Seeley.
Yeah, we'll see what you can come up with.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion on that?
Well, I don't think we got a second.
I don't think he needs a second, I think it's just,
It died from lack of a second.
yeah,
Okay.
I think the director just to have Jerry come back with quotes. No second, Art, sorry.
That's right.
All right, moving on. Request for utility easement compensation.
I have not been up to Canton to dig around, so I think we just need to table that one more.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta dig around in the deeds office to see what's of record. So I have to order title insurance and all that, so I just haven't up there.
And this is for that utility box?
For the, on the Gable, well, yeah, for the Gable property, so.
All right. Update on covered patio addition to the Business Clubhouse Event Center.
And we didn't get a chance to meet ahead of time, so
No.
maybe we don't even want to talk too much about that right now.
I mean, we could talk about where he's kind of ballparked us dollar-wise, I guess.
Yeah.
And he did send those pictures of it.
Yeah.
Why don't we just wait until after we meet?
Okay. Oh, he has a committee
Yeah.
with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
I don't think anything's gonna happen this year by the time they get plans put together and everything. It sounds like they can start working on them right away, but I don't think they'll get the bids and be pushing to get anything done this year, I think.
Well, yeah, this year, but we're hoping to start right after.
You'll have plenty of time to get that, so.
Okay. All right, new business. Review bid request for Beresford wastewater treatment facility improvements.
I'm Pat Carey with Banner Associates. Tammy Miller and Krista DeVries from our office, they did most of the work here, but they're at a conference in Chicago, so you get to deal with me on this tonight. On September 26th, we had the bid opening for the wastewater Sager project, and we were happy that we had 6 bids received. We had earlier this year and some other communities on similar projects didn't get any bids, so it was very nice to see that there was quite a bit of interest this time. And we think primarily it had to do with the schedule that you're working with, that it gave enough time for contractors to actually get the work done and allowed for what we feel were some favorable bid results. Kind of some summary there. Our cost estimate that went along with the bid was $7.1 million, which is obviously quite a bit. It's grown quite a bit from when we first started the project. But the low bid that was received from SiteWorks was $6,850,000. The next low bid was Gritter, which was just about $100,000 more than, they were $6,948,000, so almost $100,000 more than SiteWorks. As far as SiteWorks is concerned, they're based out of Sioux Falls, or T, I think. Maybe I should look at it. Yeah, Sioux Falls. We've worked with them on different types of projects. They've been, I guess to us, they're more of an underground contractor. They've been good to work with in the past. One of their representatives was here at the bid opening, and I asked him who they had doing their building construction, and he gave me a name, but it wasn't one that I recognized, and I can't remember it right now. We are in the process of getting some more information from them, a qualification statement and a subcontractor list that will hopefully have that information in it. But ideally, realistically, this project is mostly grading and pipe work. Things that are more in their wheelhouse. The building is essentially a precast concrete structure, so it's not stick built or brick and mortar type building. It's actually a pretty simple little building. And then of course electrical and controls are quite sophisticated, where they'll have an electrical subcontractor, or any of the contractors on the list would have had an electrical sub to do that kind of work for them. As it kind of summarizes here, your total funding award from the state was $14,463,000. Breaks down to a little over $5 million of ARPA grant, a little over $9 million of an SRF loan, and there was some principal forgiveness in there as well. So on top of this wastewater Sager project, we also have the 7th Street extension, which you've already given us a contract for that, and we're underway with working on the design for that. And then after the bid opening, we kind of talked internally here about the wastewater or the sanitary sewer lining and replacement project. So that'll be kind of the next thing that we'll come up with, is present you with a contract and an initial cost estimate for that work. Now that we know where we are with the Sager project, we know how much money we have left, and we'll get working on the lining and the sewer replacement as appropriate there. Tanya noted in her letter too that, again, along the way we should probably set aside some funds for contingency, just knowing that there could be some changes for this wastewater project. Kind of a ballpark number is around $250,000. We thought was a good contingency number, and realistically, we'll have contingencies built in for the sewer lining project as well, which, you know, it's all one pot of money, so we should have some fairly good flexibility for contingency planning there. The next step would be for the council tonight, if you choose to go forward with the project, to award the contract to Siteworks in the amount of $6,850,000, contingent on DANR approval of the award. And we've already submitted the documentation to them for review. They're just quite a bit behind with all the projects that they have, and they're a little understaffed, so it takes them a little bit of time to get that turned around. But you have 30 days to make an award, so you know, if you had some questions still or weren't comfortable doing it tonight, you don't have to. That 30 days can potentially be extended too if the contractor agrees with it, but I guess from our perspective, we don't see any reason to not move forward. It would just be if you had other questions or concerns.
It's called Siteworks.
Yes.
Jerry, you got any input?
No, I mean, yeah, covered pretty much everything that we talked
Shall I make a
about.
motion for bids for Beresford wastewater treatment facility improvements of $6,850,000 to Siteworks based on,
Or contingent on DANR approval.
contingent on DNR approval.
I have a motion and a second.
Oh,
I was just gonna ask Pat, on the contingency is not part of the contract, that's
Correct.
just internal with respect to your funding.
Yeah.
So you don't have a list of their subcontractors yet at this point?
No.
But we're assuming they've already reached out to their subcontractors to get bids?
Right. Yep.
And then you review those and make sure they're all in compliance with everything?
Right. So, you know, they had some other documentation that, because of the funding that was involved, there was other documentation they had to submit with their bid, which was in order. The one thing that we didn't ask all of them to fill out was this qualification statement. It's about a 15-page document, and they're in the process of filling that out. Usually we only ask the low bidder to put that together just because it's quite a bit of extra work. So, I mean, if you wanted to put other contingencies on your motion to award, you could do that. But again, I don't see any reason to do that at this point.
Tom, do we need to add a contingency amount onto that right now?
No, that's what I was asking Pat, that's internal.
The amount, I mean the amount.
Right.
Okay.
The amount's just internal, so you know, have some guidance on what you have left over for your funding
Okay.
to do for the lining
All
project.
right. Got you. I thought you meant the paperwork.
No, I'm sorry. From Elaine's
Okay.
standpoint, it's just internal. It's not part of the contract with Siteworks.
So just plain devil's advocate, if you find some issue with something after we approve it tonight, what would the process be?
I mean, I guess Tom can probably speak to this better than me, but I mean, realistically, when you have a complete responsive bid from a responsible contractor, you know, if you don't have direct negative experience with them, it's pretty hard not to award them a bid.
Okay. I don't know if the city's ever used them for anything, but.
I mean, they've done quite a bit of work for the city of Sioux Falls for what that's worth. And, you know, they're family-owned company, and it seems like they're kind of branching out into the different type of work that they're doing.
Okay, and they're out teams then?
Sioux Falls.
Sioux Falls,
Yeah,
okay.
I misspoke when I said Sioux Falls.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. I do have notice of award. You know, oftentimes Banner just signs it on your behalf, but if you want me to leave a copy for the mayor to sign, or Mike to sign it, that would be fine too.
I'll be okay with that.
Yeah. Don't like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you bring your checkbook, Mike?
Yeah, there's gonna be an overdraft.
Can you imagine all those points on a credit card?
That would be. Get on
They
board.
probably get a phone call from them.
How many miles?
Indefinite. Yeah. Vacation for life.
Do I sign it as vice president for the council?
Contingency, you're right, you're 7.1.
That's right. It's not probably coincidental.
Yeah.
It's just taking the sales.
I
seen the shape. Unless they're in cahoots together.
All right, MMUA, Safety Management Program Services Agreement.
We don't know how long we've had MMUA, but they take care of all the safety training that we do. And it's been a pretty good thing for us to be involved with. It's primarily for the electric, but they've made it so that all of our departments can participate. So they have some special training for the electric about every 3 months, but the rest of the guys, Elaine goes to some of them, I know you've been involved, and so we've done a lot of good things with that. These guys, you guys go to the meetings and everything,
Yeah.
so.
Pretty much every department shows up to meetings.
They spend a good portion of the day down here with us at least once or twice a month, so we'd like to move forward with that again. You know, the contract, I think, annually it's $14,929. Now they're getting back onto a different pay schedule, so it'll be 15 month at $18,662, so. Which is slightly up from what it was before, but that's standard everywhere.
So 15 months for that, 18,662?
Yep.
And for the MMUA,
How often do you pay it all at once, or do you pay it quarterly?
Quarterly.
Quarterly, yeah.
you need a motion?
Just to approve the contract.
Shop makes a motion for MMUA Safety Management Program Services Agreement, as Jerry Simon stated, for the year of,
Well, it goes from October 1 of 23 to December 31 of 24.
as Tom Faber mentioned.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve MMUA Safety Management Program Services Agreement. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, change order number 1, Parkway Construction for Beresford Ballfield Edition.
You remember when we were working on the plans for the field, we had talked with Greg Bates, and he was gonna attempt to see that at the end of the year here, and he was gotten too busy, and we don't have time to do it. We thought it'd make more sense just to let the guys that already have the equipment down here see the stuff. So Pat got a quote for us for $9,326.24 to do that. You guys might already see that the grass is growing, so rather than hold back, we just said, let's get it done. We had originally budgeted $10,000 just for the seed itself, so I think that's a pretty good price. What's nice about this, if it doesn't come in, it's on them to come back and fix it. We have a 1-year warranty.
Yes.
So as long as we got water on it, which is good.
All 4 fields?
Yeah, it's all 4, yeah.
It looks
Okay,
nice.
but we don't have water running yet.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, it's been running for, I was out there just before, it was running tonight, it was running this morning when I was out there, so.
Okay.
So do we need a motion for change order
Yeah.
number 1?
Yeah.
Shall I make a motion for change order number 1 with Parkway Construction for Beresford Baseball Field Addition for the grass
Seating.
seeding, as Jerry Simon stated.
Boom, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just kind of for procedure, I'll include this then in the next pay request, and then you guys will have a chance to see it and approve it there as well.
So it says just infield areas, I'm assuming that also means outfield and everything else.
So the outfield was already included?
No.
Yeah, or, sorry, outside the fence was already included.
Right.
So this is everything inside the fence on all
Inside.
4 fields.
Oh, okay, inside the fence, not just the infield.
Right, yeah, I think that was misleading wording that I put in there. But yeah, it's basically everything inside the fence on all 4 fields.
Okay.
It's growing pretty good because I was out there yesterday. It was a real nice job. They got the rolls and everything.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Set hearing date for malt beverage on, off sale, and South Dakota wine license for, is it Cava?
Kava,
Cava?
Kava.
Cava Rose, 105 North 3rd Street.
So I have received the application fees and operating agreement from Kava Rose, and so, tonight we just need to have the council set the next council meeting of October 16th as the hearing date.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to set the next hearing date for the next council meeting.
Make a motion to set the hearing date for malt beverage license for Kava Rose on the 16th of October.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Drive safe.
Yeah, thanks, have a good night.
Opposed? Motion carries. Request to promote Jennifer Cleaver?
Yeah.
To children's librarian with pay increase from $10.30 per hour to $15.98 per hour.
Boone makes a motion to promote Jennifer Cleaver to children's librarian with pay increase to $15.98 per hour worked.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
As part of that, she has asked that she could work more than 20 hours per week, which would qualify for retirement, and Jane has estimated at $1,000 additional per year to the budget if we do that. So she wants to give her more hours. And I think just as a retention aid, she thought that would help keep those people there. So I guess that's up to you guys if you'd authorize her to.
And Jane will include that in her budget going forward.
Yeah.
Do you need that added in there for more than 20 hours?
I think we probably should. So
Yeah, she said it's starting now? Starting now?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll say it was just next year.
Well, you can add it, I'll second.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Can I amend my motion to add more than 20 hours per week?
Whoever seconded should just
Yeah,
second first.
second. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Did you second first?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion that's been seconded, and we have an addendum to the motion, or amended motion that's been re-seconded. Any further discussion?
So just to make sure, that's gonna include the South Dakota retirement, correct?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Step pay increase for police officer Colton Laubach to $23.71 per hour.
Shall make motion step pay increase for police officer Colton Lilbach to $23.71 per hour.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2023-13, a resolution to transfer a portion of Amtrak 1 to the Beresford Economic Development Corporation.
So I don't know if there's any need to, for executive, any discussion about it, but, this is at the request of the Development Corporation to, transfer to them property up around the sewer lagoons, north part of town. Their idea is they're gonna utilize that to do an exchange for some other property. And then as part of that, we've got conditions, which is by statute, the city can place conditions when you transfer property to a nonprofit economic development corporation that would allow Bedco to go ahead and do the exchange as long as the property that you're giving to them to exchange isn't going to be used for livestock production or storage or raising or housing. Also, the transferee of that property from Bedco would have to give the city or Bedco or combination of the city and Bedco a right of first refusal if they would choose to sell that property in the future. So you still would have the ability to match an offer to buy it if they were trying to sell to third persons. The property that Bedco is going to receive is not in the city limits, and you'd require them to annex the property to the city limits. Then you have control over the planning and zoning of that property. And then prior to the development, or sale of any property by Bedco, they'd have to come back and get permission from the city as to what that is gonna look like and discuss what compensation, if any, the city expects back in return. And it's gonna be dependent on what their development plan is. So you need a motion to approve the resolution for the transfer of surplus property, so.
Shall I make a motion, resolution 2023-13, a resolution to transfer a portion of N Track 1 to the Beresford Economic Development Corporation?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for resolution 2023-13. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of travel requests. Do we have any? None? Payment of bills?
Glenn moves to pay the bills.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to pay the city's bills. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we need to go into executive session for anything? No further business before the council. Meeting is adjourned.
Gotta get your signature on this one here, on that resolution.
Okay.